Hello there guys, I am Wardy and I'm here today to bring you another guide. This time I've been inspired by State's replay pack as I've been looking at a little bit of his PvT. We're going to be looking at an aggressive Warp Prism Adept drop opening, which then follows up with Dark Templar play. If you want to see the replay pack for yourself, and I highly suggest you do, the link to that download it will be down below in the description, as well as a link to the full written guide and build order for this video. You can also find that link right now in the upper right corner of your screens. Let's not waste any more time and get into the game. So again, what we're going to be looking at is a way to open in PvT with two waves of aggression. We're going to start with a Warp Prism Adept drop and try and harass, and this is going to make your opponent a little bit scared and a little bit unsure as to whether he actually wants to move out and attack you, while also hopefully dealing some damage. And then you've got a second wave of aggression to follow up on the damage which your initial Adepts did, which will be the Dark Templar. Behind this aggression, you're able to set up into a fairly strong mid-game because the Terran player is scared to move out, and if the Terran player does move out, then you're likely to do a lot of damage to his base and to his mineral line, meaning that you're going to be in a strong position in the mid-game anyways. Behind the aggression, you can set up with upgrades, and such as Resonating Glaives, Blink, and upgrades from the Forge, as well as some initial Immortals while taking into a Robo Bay to either go into some initial Colossi or to head into Disruptors, whichever you prefer in your mid-game PvT. If you actually prefer playing Storm, that's completely fine as well, as you can adapt the follow-up to this build to whatever you want, because you've got everything you need. You've got a Robo, you've got a Twilight Council, you go into whatever you want. We're here to talk about the opening. Now I must say this is one way to do this opening, and I highly suggest you do look at State's replay pack and his PvTs, because he does this very similar opening many times, but he changes it up a lot. Sometimes he gets the Twilight Council a bit faster, such as in this game. Sometimes he gets it a little bit later, and the DTs are a bit later. Sometimes he skips the DTs as well, which can maybe be better on a map where you actually want to get your third base up a bit faster and a bit of a faster blink to help defend. So there's many ways to kind of change this up, and I suggest if you want to see those, you go and have a look at the rest of his replays and see what you like the most. A lot of your main defense in this game is going to be the Mothership Core. Because you're focusing on the other side of the map with your Warp Prism a lot, you're going to really rely on that Photon Overcharge and just whatever else you could warp in to defend. So make sure you keep that alive and make sure you're very sparing with your early Photon Overcharges. What we've seen so far has been very standard out of this build. We see the Robo Facility coming down now at about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Apart from this, it's been a very simple Gateway, Assimilator, Nexus, Cybercore, and a second Assimilator opening. Very standard Protoss stuff. Nothing really worth going over too much in depth. He adds on 2 more Gateways now and gets set up towards this opening. Now let's very quickly talk about the maps this is good on. It's good on pretty much every single map. Again, there's some variations which may work better on other maps, and that's again a good reason to check out the replay pack. But in general, there's no map this is bad on. I'd say the worst map is Levelat Crest, because it's actually quite a deep dive to go from the edge of the base to the mineral line with the Warp Prism. So it's a little bit harder to pick up Adepts and just retreat and get out of there. Now early on here, State does lose 2 of his Adepts very, very early. And this is a little bit of a shame, because it means he can't quite do what he usually does, which we're going to inset in the video in a little bit. So we'll mention that when the attack comes. But for now, you can see behind all of this, a Twilight Council's on the way, and he's setting up for that switch into Dark Templar behind the initial Warp Prism Adept opening. Extra gas is going down because this is going to be quite gas intensive, especially as he's also going to look to start Resonating Glaives to help out with his Adepts both aggressively and defensively. Defensively, again, you're probably looking to mostly warp in Adepts early on to try and defend against drop play or anything else such as that. You can also go for Blink before Resonating Glaives, which is, again, something State does in a couple of games, but I think for the most part Resonating Glaives is a better choice because you can still get the Blink in plenty of time to really deal with free base drops, so not much issue there. As we see the Warp Prism come across the map, we see the Dark Shrine going up. This game's going to be proxied. Again, you don't have to proxy this. You can just put this in your base, and, I mean, again, proxying it has one of them factors where maybe it doesn't scout it, and so on. So with this drop, you're looking to gain an economy lead, but it's okay if you don't just do that much damage. Here we're going to see State do a lot of damage, but again, if you don't do damage, what you are going to do at least is stop the Terran player from moving out and scare him from actually moving away from his base, which gives you the time to tech up and get whatever you feel you need to be in a comfortable position in the mid game of this PvT. Generally, PvT is kind of weak for Protoss nowadays as the game goes on, so the better of a position you can get yourself in early here, and the bit greedier you can be across the map with your third base, with your further tech, which we see coming up now, Immortal production, a Forge on the way as well, then you're going to feel more comfortable in the mid game, and that's going to give you a better chance to try and kill the Terran before he gets to that super strong late game Liberator composition. Again, we're going to start seeing exactly why this build's so great and why that mothership core is so important as well. Innovation here is about to start moving out onto the map, and State spots this with his observer here. Now, he's going to warp in DTs and send them towards the natural, which is something he's going to do to try and split the attention of his opponents. So he's going to send DTs to the natural, warp Prism into the main where he can warp in more DTs, or more Adepts, whatever he feels is necessary. So again, he's already killed a lot of workers, he's looking to continue that now, while again still teching up at home. Blink's now started, upgrades are starting, he's already got an Immortal out to help him defend. He does lose the Warp Prism here, but he's got these Adepts in the main base, and Innovation has everything across the map. DT warped in to help defend, he requires a scan from Innovation, he drops it down here, but there's just so many photon overcharges available from the Mothership core, and that Immortal to help out as well, and still units on the other side of the map. That's just so difficult for him to do anything here. He actually ends up losing everything, and he says, okay, well, aggression actually wasn't the right way to deal with this. So you can see how this build is very good both aggressively and defensively, because if your opponent actually does move across to attack you, you will almost always be able to defend with Adept warp-ins and then photon overcharges, providing you have pylons well placed. To finish off this guide, I would like to show you a game where State doesn't do any damage early on. So this game he actually lost his Warp Prism with the Adepts inside it. He didn't kill any workers, just one scouting SCV. He also didn't get Resonating Glaives because it was a bit of a different opening, but it was very similar. He still has that Dark Shrine, he's actually researching Blink here, but the main thing I want to show you is that this can transition. So when State didn't do damage, obviously, and lost the Warp Prism, he obviously had a bit more money from not warping in future Adepts, or more Adepts, so he's already got the Robo on. He starts up Colossi, which are considered to be a fairly good unit to start up with nowadays, but not to really get into too many of, and then to get Disruptors later on. Either way, you can play your mid-game PvT. I just want to show you that this build can transition without damage being done, because again, in this game, our Terran has been fairly inactive. He hasn't attacked State because he has been dealing with that aggression back at home with the threat of the DTs here and there as well. So State's had a chance to get up an Immortal, warp in some units, he's setting up his third base, and these pylons are so important. And again, we're going to see another example right now of how this Mothership core comes in to be so important in this defense. So again, State has these DTs to keep harassing with throughout the rest of the game. And now we're going to see a little bit of aggression here. Photon overcharges will be dropped, and with that Immortal, with those Adepts, and with either Resonating Glaives or Blink, you're going to have a fairly good, a fairly strong Gateway Force backed up by an Immortal, backed up by a Colossus, by the time the Terran can realistically push across the map without dying to further pressure. Note that if you do lose the Warp Prism, that you should be very careful what you do next. I think you should almost always, if you lose the Warp Prism, make another one, because having that pressure across the map, having them DTs keep coming into your opponent's base, keep trying to harass, be it DTs, be it more Adepts, whatever it is, you want something to keep the Terran a little bit scared so you can get set up to that third base. Right now, eventually State did do some damage to the mineral line. Now he's starting to take some good fights. He's got a strong army, he's got a good economy behind this, he's got a third base ready to go, and you can continue on into whatever else you would like to. State's going to win this game here. Maybe your game goes on a little bit longer, but you're set into your mid-game PvT, whatever that may be. Guys, I hope you enjoyed my first Protoss guide, and I hope it was helpful. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. If you did like the video, please do consider giving it a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Guys, until next time, have a good one, and once again, good luck on the ladder. Hello there guys, I am Wardy, and I'm here today to bring you another build Order guide. This time we're going to be looking at some ZVT, and we're going to be looking at an aggressive Roach Ravager opening. Now, just before we get started, I would like to point out that if you would like a full